Who should actually be buying an aircraft?
It depends on what the need is and the use. If you're not flying, first of all, at least 150 or 200 hours a year, you should not buy. I mean, you should buy a fractional piece of an airplane or a charter. It's just more, logistically, it makes more sense and it's cheaper. So when you really start using it more than 200 hours, then you should buy an airplane.
And why would you consider buying pre-owned versus straight from the manufacturer?
Well, the first reason is because you want instant gratification. You need something now. That's the most obvious reason, because when you want to go to the manufacturer today, it could be a 1, 2, or even 3-year wait for an airplane. The other thing is because airplanes depreciate. Okay, take COVID out, because that was where a freak anomaly in the market, but they're depreciating assets. And usually, in a normal marketplace, an airplane will probably depreciate between 30 and 50% the first 5 years, just like a car. And there's nothing wrong with it. Your warranty goes away after 5 years, but there's a big difference in price. So people want to measure, do I want instant gratification and get a lower investment? Maybe your operating costs might be a little bit more, but not to justify double the price.
People can find aircraft online and everything, but really you should use a broker. Why should you use a broker?
I sort of asked the question, why not use a broker? Obviously, the only reason you could think of is because nobody wants to pay a broker. But the fact of the matter is it's a minefield out there, and most people don't know the right questions to ask to buy an airplane. It's not like buying a car. And there's so many things you should consider. And for us in the business that are professional and doing this every day, we know right how to get to the point, find out the issues in an airplane, and know if it's even worth taking it to the next conversation. The amount of money we save a client is much more than what we cost the client. And it's just the math just doesn't make sense not to use a legitimate broker.
Right, okay. But then how do you find a good broker, and should you interview several, or how do you test that out?
Yeah, I mean, you should, listen, there is an organization, IATA, which is the International Aircraft Dealers Association, and they have a membership group that are basically go through a certification process. They're qualified. There are a lot of good brokers in that group, and that's the best way to start.
When you do meet with a client, what are some of the questions that you're asking to get them going?
It's a really basic. First of all, you want to know what your budget is. Second of all, you want to know how many people you got to carry. Third of all, what's the longest trip you need to take 4 or 5 times a year? Because let's say you're going from Las Vegas to LA every week, and once a year you go to New York. You don't want to buy an airplane to go to New York. So the range, the number of people, the budget is really the 3 critical things. Once you have those questions, you can narrow 85% of the airplanes and filter them out.
And then what should people know about that they're going to have to consider once you choose an aircraft in terms of just the basic steps like inspection, and then what they need to think about after?
So in the US, a large number of people actually self-manage the airplane. They have an in-house flight department because it's relatively easy when you're domestically flying. When you're doing it outside the United States, it's much more complicated. Every trip is international. You have different currencies, different languages, different rules and regulations. So it's all much more complicated, and they need the help of a management company that has that global coverage. But to buy the airplane, basically you're doing a letter of intent, you're doing a purchase agreement, you're going in for a pre-purchase inspection to make sure the airplane is clean. And then you close and you're deregistering or exporting the airplane depending on where in the world it's coming from and going to. And then if you have a management company, you're bringing those people on board while you're buying the airplane, not after you buy the airplane, so they can assist reviewing the airplane and the inspection status, and also guiding you and getting used to the airplane so that as soon as it comes out of inspection and you close, you can immediately put into service.
Okay, so do you recommend, if somebody's brand new, will you say you got to get a management company in here?
Yeah, we recommend that you should, at least for the first couple of years, because the fact of the matter is, again, why wouldn't you use a management company? Because of the cost. But the fact is that what they cost you, they save you in other places. So, they can get cheaper prices on pilot training, on insurance, on fuel purchases, and usually those savings can offset the cost that you're paying them for the management fee.
I remember when you started the jet business, and now we're looking, 12 years later, You look younger than ever. But I'm
everywhere.
I'm curious what you've learned, because that was a very big deal. It was brand new. It was a totally different concept, and I'm curious when you reflect back, what you've learned now. What you would do differently, or how you think it's changed the industry, because it probably has.
I learned what people really want right off the bat. So when you're talking to somebody on the phone or through emails, people usually are a little over exaggerating what their needs are. And they're flapping their wings. They tell their pilot, I want to spend 25 million, I need to get 10 people and go 8 hours. And then when you sit in front of the person with our app and you actually see, it's like a doctor. If you don't tell me your real problem, I can't solve your problems. So once they see what we can do, if they don't give me the real information, they won't get a real answer. When they see that, they start saying, well, I don't really want to spend 25, I really want to spend 15, I don't really carry more than 4 people, I really need to go 4 hours. So what we do is we really narrow down what the minimum airplane model they should have, and then they can get anything above that. And I've learned through this whole experience of really what the client wants and what they need. And I think that helps us solve their issues much quicker, and you don't have to waste a lot of time looking at stuff that you're not going to end up with.
Do you see any very common mistakes beyond, asking for too much aircraft or too little? Are there other things people should?
Yeah, I mean, listen, like everything, everybody wants a deal, and they want the cheapest, plane. And I sort of use the analogy. I mean, you don't really want to go out and find the cheapest sushi restaurant, right? I mean, cheap and sushi don't really go too well together. And it's the same thing. Why would you're putting your life, your executives' lives, your family lives in this airplane? Why would you want to buy the cheapest? I mean, I'd want the best pedigree, the best maintenance history. Cosmetically, you don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. You could change, but you can't change history. So that's the one thing I think people really should pay attention to.